Welcome to Backyard Family Fun, the podcast from Pride Pool Spas and Leisure Products. In Claxton and Savannah, Georgia, this family-owned business has spent decades helping create memories that last a lifetime. Whether you're a pool owner, a spa lover, or just looking to turn your outdoor space into a true retreat, we've got you covered right here on the Backyard Family Fun podcast. Welcome to Backyard Family Fun, brought to you by Pride Pools, Spas, and Leisure Products. I'm the producer, Dee Daniels, very excited to be with you. We are in the Savannah location of Pride Pools for this episode, and we've got a lot going on, and we're going to have a great conversation. We're welcoming back to the show Warren Fair, who is the Senior Project Manager and Inground Pool Specialist. Welcome back, Warren.
Hey, thanks. Glad to be here.
This is going to be a fun conversation. I know that, it's such an interesting time of year. We're having a stretch of warm days. So I feel like everybody has got pool time on the radar, and I'm sure you're seeing some of that.
Yeah, it seems like this time every year it's like clockwork. What ends up happening is the sun comes out a little bit, it kind of warms up the atmosphere, and then all of a sudden the pool light bulb goes off and people are like, oh my gosh, I think I want a pool. And so the phone starts to ring. People start to get eager about getting a pool. So this is the season we're in right now.
Yeah, it really is. And, I feel like something I'm hearing everybody at Pride Pool sort of talk about is, beat the heat, don't chase it. That whole idea, how do we manage our time right now when we're trying to figure out, can we do some new things? Are we too late in the calendar? How do we do that?
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of a coined term around here. We encourage people to beat the heat, not chase it. We build pools obviously year round, but like we said, it starts to warm up and everybody's deciding, I want to get a pool. And so is everybody else in the nation. So instead of chasing the process, if you're a little bit proactive, you start having that conversation early about a pool. You get on the list and you can actually get your dig date kind of pre-season, early on in the season. And then we're building your pool right before the hottest months of the year, so you actually can maximize the opportunity to be able to use that investment for the entire season.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're talking about the process. I know it is a process. What does that actually look like? You can't, realistically, you can't just decide you want it, jump right into the process, I'm assuming.
I wish it could be like that. Yeah, I don't think there are a few people that maybe wake up and be like, you know what, let's go buy a pool.
Yeah.
which is great. I love it. However, there is a big process, and on one of our previous conversations that we had, we talked about the Inground process and the myriad of things that have to take place. But you can't just, there's the design part of the phase, then there's the permitting, the scheduling, and then there's, of course, the construction that has to take place. So it is very much a dance, and we got to choreograph that appropriately to make sure that I meet your expectations and we can deliver on what it is that you're looking for. So, there is a process that takes place to be able to get this in your yard, and you can't just come in on a Saturday like you go to a used car dealership and let's buy a car and go home with it. So there is a process that has to happen. So, of course, we encourage you to start planning, start talking, and let's start designing early.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the decision process and how maybe some people can underestimate how much time they should spend on that decision process. But I'm also thinking I don't want to be in a situation if I'm thinking about knowing I want to buy a pool and knowing I want to have an in-ground pool, knowing I want to start the process. I don't want to be in a situation where I've picked this out, started the process, and then I'm thinking down the road, what if I don't like that one? And it's, so you got to do all that on the front end, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things we pride ourselves in on the in-ground side of the house here. It's what I really try to stress to people, because what they see in their mind's eye is they see their backyard like it is today, and then they see a finished pool. What they don't get to really paint in that picture is the middle, like what all happens in the middle. And what I really try to stress, and exactly what I tell customers, is listen, you're not coming in here and you're buying a used car. Because we've all bought a used car, or maybe we've had the opportunity to buy a brand new car, but
Sure.
There are some things that you'll compromise on. Because guess what? I'm going to drive it for 3 or 4 years. I'll turn around and trade it in, and maybe if I didn't get the sunroof this time, I'll get it next time.
Sure.
Well, this is not that.
It's different.
This is different. This is an investment. The only way you get another pool is buy another house.
Yeah.
So I really try to encourage folks that let's spend a little bit of time. I know you're eager. I know you want the whole summer. I know you want to be able to maximize the time in the pool. But if we spend just a little bit of time up front and making sure that I can meet your expectations and you're getting everything you want, we're not going to be able to trade this thing in. So we want to hit it and we want to get it right the first time.
Absolutely. So timing wise, and forgetting about like where we are on the calendar right now, but I'm just curious, timing wise, when is the best time for someone to start the process?
The sweet spot that we like to talk about is really, January, February, March, that time frame, even early May, because everybody's kind of waking up to the pool idea. The distributors haven't got a big laundry list of people or for pools that are going to go out the door. So right now, the timing for me to get a permit and everything, we tell people about 45 days. Well, it also takes about 45 days to get a shell made, or about 45 days to get the liner made, or whatever pool you decide. So really, those things are kind of working hand in hand. By the time I can get you a pool and by the time I can get the permit process done, it's kind of hand in hand. Once the season starts to drag out and you get more and more people on that list, well, one of those timelines will actually get a little bit longer. You go from getting a pool in 45 days to now it might take 8 weeks because I'm on the list, because manufacturing, they got to build your pool. So I can actually have your permit a month and a half before your pool's even ready. And so now we're just waiting on pools. So the sweet spot is, early spring, right around now that the timing's working out where by the time I get a permit, I can have that pool delivered and we can start breaking ground and we can have all those decisions made.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the exciting part, obviously, for those that are making that decision to know, okay, I've got a window here that would be in the sweet spot. So I like that. I like that a lot. The time frame, obviously, you're talking about, getting ahead of the rush, and you're talking about, being able to know ahead of time like what the process looks like. But also on the back end of that, obviously, you want to have it in sooner so you could possibly have a longer season to swim in, even though we've got pretty good temperatures around here. But, at some point it gets cold.
It does. It does. And, just because not everybody's going to be able to hit that sweet spot, we would love it if every day I came in here and there's a line of people ready to buy a pool. That would be great. But obviously South Georgia, we build pools 52 weeks out of the year. So if you happen to miss the sweet spot or you took a little longer to decide, because again, it's a big decision. So we want to make sure you make the right decision and don't buy a pool for a season, you buy a pool for a lifetime. So if it takes a little longer to make that decision, that's absolutely fine. South Georgia, I tell folks we do 10-month pools around here. You're going to get 10 months out of your pool. And if we need to stretch that out by putting a heater on the pool or doing something else, you can absolutely swim in November. We get days around here that, the air temperature might be 85, 86 in the middle of November. So all we got to do is just take the chill off the water. You're still going to be able to maximize that. It might just take you a little longer to get the pool because now you're on the list.
I love it when people can just take the chill off the water and we can still get in, and it's that hot day in November or December. That's the best. That is absolutely
we have
the
that
best.
privilege around here. We really do. I mean, us, Florida, those folks.
Yeah.
We really get to stretch the season.
No doubt. All right. I want to set up a scenario where, maybe, we're thinking, we missed the window. Just talk me through that. What happens if someone waits, just wasn't the right timing, and now we're past that like sweet spot that you're talking about on the calendar? What do we do now if we still want to try to make it happen? Is it possible?
Oh, absolutely. Like I said previously, we can stretch the season. We can do heaters and stuff, but the downside the upside to missing the sweet spot or getting your pool in the middle of the summer is you're still set up for next season. The benefit of getting your pool later on in the year is if you miss the sweet spot, of course, everybody's grass is turning green. I'm going to hammer the yard. I mean, we're going to do some damage back there because it is construction.
Sure.
But if you do a pool in the fall or even the early winter, you've taken all that summer green up out of the process, and then next spring your yard really pops back a lot faster. You kind of have everything set up for the next swimming season. So like I said, we build pools 52 weeks out of the year. If you do happen to miss it, we can add a heater to the pool. We can stretch out the swim season. But building the pool in the fall is not necessarily a bad thing. If it means you need to take that time to make the right decision for your family and for your investment, then take that time. We can do it in the fall, and then the landscape and everything kind of comes back a little faster in the next season.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So in sort of both scenarios, we're talking about, all right, we're making the decisions. We get in on the beginning of the process and the sweet spot time of the year, early spring. We're getting in on it. Versus, we may feel like we're a little late, coming in, and we still want to try to do it and that sort of thing. There is a difference, and there are some important differences. I would imagine there's also what I would call like a production schedule and things of that nature. Am I right? Being able to get in on that?
We do. We have a rolling list, and we call it the dig list here. And of course, as people get on that list, we put your name. If you're early, obviously you can even pick a date. We've had customers that come in and they've been thinking about the process. They know they either move into South Georgia, they're relocating from somewhere, or you getting out of your old house and you're buying a new house. And so you're waiting for that construction process to kind of take place. Well, you might not be ready for that pool to happen in the next 45 to 60 days because you're waiting to close on that house.
Right.
But what people can do is now they can come in and cherry pick a date. So they'll meet with me early and then say, hey, listen, we're closing on the house on July 15th. Can we have the following week? And I can actually put your name down for a specific date because the calendar's not built out all the way, or you can start to cherry pick a date because you got on that planning list.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of the process, I want to just ask you like a side question that sort of popped in. I'm thinking about, you're talking about a lot of the pieces of the process, like the design and the permits and the scheduling, obviously the construction. Is there anywhere in there where something could get hung up and like cause that, whether it be like parts or, whatever, the permitting, is there something that you've seen that has been like, yep, this is going to hang us up for a minute. It's going to change the timeline. Does that happen a lot?
Oh, absolutely. So we would like to say, from cradle to grave, we can get a pool in 45 days to 60 days, depending on that. But, in that dance of putting your deposit on the pool to the pool getting in, there is the permitting process, there is manufacturing, there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of people touching a lot of different parts of the process. So it could be something as simple as you didn't know you were in a flood zone. While I'm applying for your permit, oh, you're in the flood zone. So now we have to stop the whole process and go through the flood zone portion of it, which could add another 45 days for them to review it. We've had situations where manufacturing, maybe something happened to the pool in manufacturing and they have to stop and redo a couple of things and it'll delay us a week or two. So there's definitely some influences that could happen that could slow the process down, or unintended consequences of something else that would interfere with those dig dates. So the earlier we start it, the better I can meet your expectations.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Let's roll that time in because, hiccups happen when there's such a big process. This is a big deal. It's a big investment. There's a lot going on. I mean, you're breaking ground, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. And when you can help the customer understand that they're not looking out their house today and seeing pretty grass, and then tomorrow a pool's going to be in and finished.
Right.
There's a process that takes place. Obviously, you get to break a few eggs. You can make a cake, but we do need to break some eggs in that backyard.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a couple more things before we wrap up. You were talking about stretching the season, and I know we've had a lot of listener interest on heaters and that sort of thing. Any thoughts around ways that we can stretch the season? Obviously, installing a heater, there's different choices with that. There's a lot to look at. It's not just one size fit all.
No, it's definitely not. It's a very unique process, and that's kind of the conversation that we have. So, and when you stretch the season, you can really stretch it on the front and the back. A lot of times when people have a conversation with me with regards to, do I need a heater on this pool? Well, we're in South Georgia. You don't need a heater. You don't need a fireplace in your house either, but people have it because it looks cute, and
right.
You can hang stockings at Christmas time.
That's right.
So it's one of those benefits. But I use the spring break for like my kids at school. The sun's out, spring break, it's beautiful. We're going into that probably this next week, but the water temperature is still 72, but it's 86, 88 knocking on the door of 90 air
Right.
temperature. So if you want to take that chill off the water and let the kids swim all week, you can fire up that heater, get the pool warm up to 81 degrees, and they can pretty much swim all week. And you've heated the pool maybe twice in the entire
Wow.
week. There's options of putting a solar cover on the pool. So obviously, if you've got a heater on there and you've gotten that water up to temperature, you don't want to lose it at night, because at night it still gets kind of cool and a lot of that heat will flash off. So we really encourage people to put a solar cover on top of that pool. It really traps that heat in there. Sun comes up the next morning, use Mother Nature a little bit to heat the water. And then we've got options like a heat pump. Kind of runs like the air conditioner in your house. You set it to 81 degrees and it takes a span of days to get there, but then it kicks on, kicks off, kicks on, and it gives you just like, it maintains it. So
Right.
you've got one of them that's instant gratification. I'll fire up the heater and it'll be there in 4 hours. After morning coffee and breakfast, you can jump in the pool.
Wow.
And then you've got one that you kind of set it and forget it, and then it just kind of keeps you there. So just depending on what your needs are, there's a solution to all of it.
And for all of those things that you're mentioning, the cover, the solar cover, and the different styles of heat that you can choose, you don't have to necessarily, or do you know all of that before you decide on starting the process of your in-ground pool build?
No, you don't. And that's like part of the rest of the discussion is, a lot of this can be daunting, or it can be like a lot of decision making, because I really try to stress the fact that we're not trading this pool in 3 years. So let's get the pool right. But the nice to haves, like the heaters and things of that, if you're really unsure and you don't want to make the investment on a heater right now, let's do this. Why don't you take your pool and run it for an entire season? And then if you thought, okay, well, I could have really stretched the season by having a heater, it's something you can absolutely retrofit. I've had plenty of customers that, let's just get the pool in. That's a lot of decision-making process, or their budget was a little bit tight. Okay, well, next season, let's address, do you need a heater? And if you did have a heater, how many more days would you have used it, and let it make sense to you? So we can absolutely retrofit after the fact, put it on there if you think you can, increase your season a little bit.
Absolutely, which really increases the amount of fun and all the things you're trying to do with your pool in the first place. All right, final thoughts. What do you say to someone who might be on the fence with, when do I start the process? How do I start the process? I'm a little nervous about the process.
Sure. It is a big deal. It is a big investment. So you definitely want to be committed to the cause. We have the privilege here at Pride Pools. The way we do it is we have, pretty much refundable deposits all the way up until the time I order your pool. So my encouragement to them, or my conversation to those folks, is like, if they come in and visit and like, hey, we're really exploring the opportunity of getting a pool, get on the list, get on it early. Then let the dynamics happen. Let me come out, let's talk it, let's look through the process, let me draw some things up for you. And then when things start to come to life, if you need me to push the pool down the calendar a little bit, we can absolutely do that, because you've already bought basically your dig date. You've already got it in. And if it looks like it's not going to work out, well, I'll give you your money back, because we haven't purchased the pool yet. So by the time I order the pool, we know we're committed to the cause and we're moving forward. But if you want to get on the list and let the decision process kind of take place, get on the list. That way you've at least got a date earmarked for your dig.
Last question, it just popped in my head. I was just thinking about folks that are absolutely picking up the phone saying, yep, I want to go ahead and get on the list. That sounds great. What's any like quick preparation that they do for the backyard before you come and take that first look?
Yeah, when they come in, obviously I've got some tools that we can use if they just don't know. Like, we can look at it from satellite. We can look at it from a bunch of different aspects. Technology is super great right now.
Right.
But some things I say is, take some pictures of your yard, because you might look at it from a different aspect than I'm going to look at it from satellite.
Sure.
So, show me the fence, show me the fire pit that you want to put in there, show me the outdoor kitchen that you want to and then we can kind of paint the picture together while we're here. So definitely, bring in some pictures, bring the plat to your house. We can actually start doing some sizing, because a lot of people, we talk about a 1632. Well, yeah, sure, that'll fit in my yard. Well, will it?
Right.
So really being able to set that expectation when we start talking about pools,
That's
because
important.
obviously pricing follows the size of the pool. So somebody's like, yeah, I want a 1632. Well, it's going to be really hard to dig that hole if you live in a postage stamp backyard. So
Sure.
let's look at some other options.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
definitely getting educated on the process and then bringing all the tools to the table so we can make that decision and then basically align everybody's expectation of what is actually going to be feasible in your yard.
Oh, I love that. Well, obviously, you know the one to talk to when you walk in, ask all your questions to anybody here at Pride Pools, but Warren Fair, Senior Project Manager and Inground Pool Specialist, you're always full of great information. Appreciate you stopping by the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening. Come by and meet your local pool and spa experts in Claxton on Highway 280 West or in Savannah on Gateway Boulevard South, or go to pridepools.com. If you love backyard family fun as much as we do, be sure to give us a rating and review and subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. And if you have a question or topic you'd love for us to cover, drop us an email, info@pridepools.com. or tap the links for Facebook or Instagram in the show notes of this episode. We'd love to hear from you. Now let's go make a splash and have some backyard family fun.
Pride Pools, Spas and Leisure, your home for